All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurial You, where we go inside the stores and stories of some amazing Bahamian businesses. I'm your host, Ianthia Ferguson, and today we're checking out My Bahama Sponge. So I'm here with Andy Burrows, the owner of My Bahama Sponge. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial You.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your company, how you got started, and why.
The journey for me began in 2009, actually. I went up to Mangrove Key, Andros to spend some time with my wife who worked at the credit union, and they were rotating staff up on Mangrove Key. And so I went up there when it was her time to go to spend about a week there with her. And I saw all these sponges all over the place. And so I asked the lady where we were staying, Miss Moxie. She told me that this was the way they made a living. And I said, I thought sponging was dead. I said, because, you hear about it in school and you hear some things, but I thought it was a dead industry. She said, no. And so I spent the rest of the week actually going down to the shore and talking to the guys about sponging. And then they started explaining to me what they do. And so it was fascinating to me. And as I said, this is back in 2009. When I first went down to the shore where the guys were sponging, there was a smell, an unbelievable, just a horrific smell.
I was going to say a good smell or a bad smell?
No, this was a bad smell. And I didn't know what it was. So I was like, what is that? They say, that's the sponge. I said, sponge? They say, yeah. And so they had sponges all over the shore there. And it just, it smelled like dead animals, whatever it is. But interesting enough, technically a sponge is considered an animal, not a plant.
Interesting.
And even though it doesn't have cells and blood and vessels and that type of stuff. And so that was kind of my introduction to it. But that didn't deter me, because I also saw the final, well, not the final product, but I saw one of the finished product. And so I was still interested in it. And I said to myself, it was something that I could possibly get into. And so when the opportunity came, and I came back and started looking more into it, started doing some research online. So thank God for Google and YouTube and all those stuff, because now you have to, once you've made up your mind to get into this is a business that I don't have any knowledge in. And so I started to do my own research online. Didn't have a boat or anything at the time. And so after reading and watching some videos and just going over the whole process with that, I went up to Andros, and the gentleman up there had a boat sitting in his yard. And when I started talking to him, he said the boat had been there for about 6 or 7 years. It's just sitting in the dry dock. So I asked him if he was interested in selling. So he said, yeah. So I purchased the boat, took somebody up there. He measured up everything, because this gentleman works on boats. Came back to Nassau, got all of the materials, shipped them up to Andros, went up there with him. In about a week, we had that boat in the water.
So you didn't know anything about sponging, didn't know anything about boats, but here you are with a refurbished boat.
Yes.
And some sponges at your disposal. What were the next steps you took to get My Bahama Sponge off the ground?
At that point, I hadn't come up with a name yet. And so I decided, I don't know, maybe the Lord just popped it into my head, My Bahama Sponge, and I started it, and then went through the process of getting a business license and that side of it. And then I went ahead and started the company. And of course, starting the company is only the first step. Because now, even though you have a product, and perhaps we should talk about the whole idea of getting that product. And so sponges, Andros is the biggest island in the Bahamas in terms of sponging. And so they have a very big history going back years, hundreds of years of actually doing sponging in this country. And so when I went down there, I just found some persons there and talk to them and just try to learn and soak up as much as I could. I remember my first time down there, I couldn't identify one sponge from the other for nothing in the world. And so, but over time, you start to get it. And then I went out on the boat with the guys and watched what they did. And so I had to immerse myself in that whole process from cutting up the sponges in the water. And that's one of the things that we do that's very important, because we know we live in a time where people are concerned about the environment and want to know that you're not destroying. Because a lot of folks come to me and ask me, they think that we're actually damaging the environment. And you have to explain to them that what we do is we cut all of our sponges. So we cut them with a sharp knife. We put them in the boat, and then when the boat gets filled up, then we go to shore and we put them on the shore and lay them out for about 2 days to die. Okay. That's where that bad smell comes in that I was telling you about during that 2-day process.
Okay.
And then after that, you then take it, you put it back into the water for a period to soak.
Okay.
And that can be, depending on the time of the year, anywhere from 3 to 7 days. The warmer the temperature, like during the summer months, sponges tend to clean up a lot faster. It's about a 10-day process from cutting the sponge in the water to where you have a final product like this. That's about a 10-day process.
So tell us exactly what we're looking at here. What is this?
You're looking at what we call a grass sponge.
Okay.
Don't ask me why they call it grass sponge, because nobody can tell me why. All they know is that's what they called it. Perhaps because it's so plentiful. Because actually, this sponge, the grass sponge, you would find in larger quantities than any other sponge in the Bahamas.
So tell me a little bit about the business. We chatted about that a little bit. I want to go back there to talk about your relationship now with the SBDC and how instrumental of a role they played in helping you to get My Bahama Sponge off the ground.
They had a Christmas event, and I went down there and set up, and that kind of started the whole ball rolling as to, because at that point, I was not a part of SBDC. Okay. I was just invited as a vendor there. And so they were talking about making grants and other things available to local businesses. So it was something I was interested in. And I started in 2019, and then 2020 was when the pandemic came in. And so we had already started the relationship, discussing various things, and then COVID hit. That put everything, virtual, and it just didn't always work out. I'm sure not to their liking, not to my liking either. Yeah. But we continued the process, and it's been a beneficial relationship. I had the opportunity. My company was one of the companies that was selected, and they took our products to the trade expo in Dubai. Because initially that was supposed to have been in 2020, and then they canceled it until last year, October to this year. And so we were one of the companies that was selected, and they took, I think, 3 or 4 different products. Businesses can rise or fall on many different reasons. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's technical assistance, sometimes it's marketing. So it's a variety of things that has to be brought to bear to make a successful business. And SBDC has been a company that's allowed me, from a financial perspective, also from just being more aware of all the things that are necessary to have a successful business. Because it's not just, I said to myself, I think I have a good product. But having a good product in itself does not mean that you will be successful.
Very true.
Because you've got to be able to get yourself out there in front of people, for people to see you. You got to knock on doors. People turn you down. They turn you around. There's a lot of different things that go. And just being able to hear and get feedback from other persons, even persons that may not necessarily have a business but work for SBDC. Sometimes, just in talking to them, somebody may say something that may trigger something in you, and then it allows you to be able to flourish and allow your business to be able to move. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity. I was grateful, really, really grateful for the opportunity to have my products go all the way to Dubai.
Okay, so let's talk now about some of your products. Kind of walk me through what it is you sell.
So this is actually, I call a sea sponge scrubber, and this was an idea that I came up with during COVID. So what you see here is different iterations of the product. Okay. So these here with the round handles these were the first ones I came up with. I had this one, which was a thinner handle, but then that one is a little bit thicker. But what I started to feel was when persons use it, and even when I use it, because I always use all my products before I give it out to someone else, it just didn't feel solid. It felt like it was going to be, when this gets wet, the sponge is going to be softer. So it felt like it was coming off, even though it never came off. And so I said, sometimes it's important that people have, be comfortable with what it is that they purchase. So I said, well, let me go to this one, which is flatter, which gave more surface. But I didn't like that. So that didn't live the last too long. And then I finally came up with a better design.
That looks good.
And so this is a design that I came up with, because now this offers a more surface area.
Yes.
The sponge isn't going to move around or anything like that, or give you the impression that it's going to fall off. And so I think that idea I came up with in about October of last year. And so I had that for a while, and then finally this is my latest design now.
I just love the leveling up here.
Yeah. And so this is a painted wooden handle, and then this one is unpainted, because obviously some persons prefer natural.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to give people the option of having a natural versus it's a lighter wood. If you feel it compared to this, it's lighter, and so and it has a little jazz. And
I see.
And this has been my best seller, I'd say, between October of last year to this year. It's been the best seller. It's been very well received locally. In fact, when the country was shut down, this was pretty much the only thing I was selling in any quantities. So that's really, and so to give you an idea, I like to let people feel it. So this is that same sponge you had in your hand, and so this is what that feels like when it's wet.
That feels good.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can use the regular soap or the liquid soap. Doesn't matter. And the thing about sea sponges, no mold, no mildew, no bacteria.
And I was just going to ask you about some of the benefits.
Oh,
the health
okay.
benefits of these sponges.
Yes, and so sea sponges are a renewable natural resource. So obviously that means we're not depleting the resources.
Right.
We can go out and we can harvest again from those sponges, and that's why we cut them. And then it allows them to regrow, and so we can go back. They're also hypoallergenic, toxin-free, so we don't think about a lot of the things that we use. Even your washcloth, that's made from petroleum-based products, which means there are some stuff that's added in that manufacturing process that sometimes you don't know how it's affecting the body. And so the thing about the sea sponge is you don't have to worry about that. It's obviously it's a sea sponge, a natural exfoliator, so it's good for exfoliating the skin, getting rid of those dead skin cells. And then it's safe for babies, and then it's a very high quality product and durable.
All right, nice. And I see you have other products here, like a soap dish.
Yes.
So the sea sponge is going to make my soap last longer, because there's a specific brand of soap that just melts away.
See, that's the whole idea behind the soap dish. When you put your soap in the soap dish and it gets soft and mushy underneath, well, the sponge absorbs the moisture out of the soap. Therefore, the soap is going to last a little bit longer. And then we have
the facial sponge.
The facial sponge, yes. And so for ladies who want to do something using a natural product, you're going to give yourself a nice scrub that's not going to be, as I say, it's not abrasive, because when you wet it, it's going to get a little bit softer, but it'll still do the job of actually exfoliating the skin.
Right. All right. And you have some handmade soaps here.
Right.
I see you partnered maybe.
I partnered with someone, because people always asking me about getting into soaps and that type of stuff, but I'm a sponge fella. I ain't
no soap man.
No. And you have to do everything you do, you have to do with passion.
Yeah.
Because passion means when you get knocked down, you can get back up. You get knocked down, you can get back up.
So we know we can find you in hotels, but where else can we find My Bahama Sponge?
Solomon's Fresh Market, or if you're in Atlantis, they also have it in their retail shops over there as well. Sandals is my latest client that just came on board recently.
Be sure to find Andy at My Bahama Sponge on Facebook and Instagram. And be sure to look up for another episode of the Entrepreneurial You. We'll see you next time.